Tuesday, December 12th. Can we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Costa Junior, absent. Councilmember Robles.
Present.
Councilmember Hernandez.
Here.
Councilmember Lozaldi.
Here.
Mayor Julian.
Here. They have a quorum. Will you please stand with me for the pledge of allegiance? Ready? Begin.
I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is moment of thanks, appreciation, and condolences, or condolences. Is there anyone here that would like to recognize anyone, or?
I think if I can go, it doesn't go so.
Please.
I wanted to thank staff and the community members who volunteered. We had the parade this weekend, was really successful, and I think coming post-COVID, I'm realizing more and more how these community engagement events are just, our community just craving them. So many people out having a good time, laughing, enjoying the businesses, really appreciating each other. So I want to thank the staff that participated. The school also had a meet and greet with Santa. And so a group of parents volunteered. They served over 75 families at the cafeteria with cookies and coffee, and kids got to meet Santa and had crafts for them. And so there was a lot of opportunity for engagement this weekend of families with their kids, grandparents with their grandkids, neighbors just hanging out together. So it was a really great event. And I just want to highlight the volunteers who give up their personal time to support our community and support these events.
That's a good thought. One of the items that this past Saturday, a lot happened Saturday, but Saturday afternoon, community health centers in the senior center provided vaccinations and a lot of goodies for local residents. So, and those of us that were there at the parade is just tons of people.
Oh my gosh.
And it's nice to have something local to where people don't have to go anywhere elsewhere. So,
It was really nice.
and one of the areas again, Ukraine,
Mhm.
Mideast, condolences to all those that are in that conflict. All right, next item is agenda review. This time the city council will review the agenda. Is there any council member or staff wishes to change the order of business?
No.
We're good. So the next item, moving right along, community participation. Mr. Alvarez?
56 minutes into
I want to thank Saint Nick for giving the additional 3 minutes. Just kidding. When we take the pledge of allegiance, it saddens me that our administration now are totally disrespecting the flag and their oath. We have a border that's overrun and it's creating deaths, fentanyl, whatnot, trafficking. And these idiots don't understand what the hell is going on. Democratic Party have to take it on. This old dude as president sucks. He is harming this country. Doesn't the Democratic Party figure out the damage he has done with his actions? He wants us to give billions of dollars to Ukraine when he had a deal pro quo deal way back when he was vice president. Are we that stupid? They're not gonna win. Russia's fine, that's their thing. The hideous aspect of Israel. I never thought I would live at my age to see that happen again. It was bad enough with Hitler, but my God, it's happening here in this country with the attitude that we have, not me. Students, academia, 3 presidents would not acknowledge this as a hate crime. How pathetic and sick. I'm glad one of them got fired. But it shows you the sickness that we're going on here. Now, I came basically to thank our police department for doing an outstanding job in ticketing these bastards on the street, the U-turns. They had a field day.
Careful with the language, please.
Well, under the freedom of thought, I can speak if I want
Just
to.
be-
You want to challenge me? I'll bring the LCU over
Just
here.
be nice,
I-
Mr.
no.
Alvarez.
No, I have the right to be what I want. You didn't tell me what
Just
the
be
hell to do,
nice in
sir.
this public forum.
No, it is a public forum and I have the right under the Constitution to give my attitude.
You got one more minute.
Okay, well, fine. But I never challenge my right. You're not that great of a person to do that, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Now, thank you, police department, from that on. And as Americans, you have the right to give your opinion. You could use it if you want to. I don't choose to. I'll be emotional. But that word I said is not that bad. Thank you.
That's your opinion. Thank you for your opinion.
Well, thank you for yours.
You haven't had mine. Anybody else out there wishes to speak? Okay, we'll go to the consent item, is a consent calendar for those that are, wish to pull an item for further discussion. You can do so now. If not, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second that. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
All ayes. Thank you. Next item is, management report.
Okay, there's a lot, in the report, but I'll hit the highlights. One is Central Park update by design team will be at the, December 19th, Recreation Parks Commission meeting at 6 p.m. And I believe they have some PowerPoints and things that they'll provide there as it relates to the project, so feel free to attend that. Wanted to let you know that I'm working with Dr. Handel, to put together, well, we at least got one pre-app grant together. The city has to be the fiscal agent, but the school's working with us, to help get a grant to help fund the sidewalk around the school. Cause there's a little bit of a shortfall, and so, we've decided to work together and try to come up with some grant funds for that. And this isn't the only grant that we're gonna apply for. There's some other ones that we've spotted, so we're gonna work together on that as a team. There's also groundbreaking with the school Wednesday, December 20th at 10 a.m. And that's gonna be in, the Pasadena neighborhood, Arroyo Seco Road. There's also a little update about the library and that there's been communication with the librarian. I don't know if you read that or if you want some background on that. The Highway 1 and 166 consolidated project. They would like to get together, Caltrans, Meg Henry, the District 5 project manager, would like to get together in the community to do a community update on those projects, probably late January is when they're earmarking. I also had talked to Corey Ventilla regarding the river work there and also the dunes but they're looking for an actual road and park update to access the dunes in March of 2024. That's what they're hoping for. A lot of information there if you want to read into that. Senior Center. I know that the mayor had indicated, now that things have changed over there with LADG leaving and AAA coming in, there's really no need to have that large cooler running when there's 2 boxes in there. So we're going to order a freezer. And Eddie's working on that right now. So just a nice commercial grade freezer. Yeah, and then we mentioned the parade went on. That was great. That was a lot of fun. There's an urban greening grant update. Just as you know, Emily Greenling's working on that. And she's getting support letters from Hart and Lamone's office. Interest earned, I always put that in there because I think it's great. For the month of November, the city earned $45,501 in interest in total in a 1.5 month period, $71,467. I'm gonna start scheduling, I know that was a discussion point, more local nonprofits to come and give presentations. So I'm putting together a calendar to try to invite local nonprofits to come and give updates from what the happenings they are. I heard that, so I wanna try to do that. Let's see, what else do we have here? JPIA came and visited our sites to look at all of our buildings for insurance, just looked at the square footage. Just analyzed the sites and really nothing has changed that much from the year prior. That way we know that they're insuring our buildings properly. Roof leaks, we have 238,000 of ARPA funds set aside for that. We're just waiting for one little quote. Unfortunately, it's getting to the rainy season, but that's in the way. Janice is working with Joy and working on the rocks, which is very difficult. The Pasadena bridges, we had to submit a new CPUC application for those two bridges that are crossing the tracks. Very complicated. I have all the details if anybody wants to look at the bridge, design work. It's pretty impressive. Fighting back Santa Maria, I know that they want to come and address and talk to the city about that and smoking and doing their whole pitch, and I know the chief's aware of this. The Measure A Cycle 4 grant is, I put that in before I even got it, but right now the pre-app has been delivered. Here's the support letter from the school, so I'm happy about that. I don't know how much money we'll get, we'll see. 3C Energy, there's a whole slew of information on that. I won't even begin to go through that. Townsend provided their monthly grant memo, and it seems like we're just really using them a lot now. So you might get what you wish for, and it could be a lot. You might be coming in storms. Black Road Highway 166, that's gonna be at our meeting for an update on January 23rd, 2024 meeting. The Cycle 6 housing element, that's gonna go to the meeting of well, that's coming up. There's more work that's gonna be had on it, so we have to hire Dr. Russell to do some more work. So I put together an agreement and contract that's already in the hands of Philip, and that's gonna go to the meeting of the 9th.
It's because what the state, because of the extensive comments from the state.
Yes, and that's all.
Outside the scope of the.
Yeah, and that's all written in there. Yeah, they're asking for more detailed information because of housing shortage and stuff, so. And it just makes sense to amend the contract to allow him to finish that work, and we can use ARPA funds for that. Other than that, that's all. There's maybe,
Shoot 'em, chief.
I have a hard time pronouncing Velen, Belen. Belen Velasquez. They want to do a wreath ceremony, which the mayor is going to be a part of during their ceremony this Saturday. So anybody can attend if they want. They already are funded for all the wreaths, but the mayor asked me if I'd ask them if they need a donation, and sounds like they're good for now. Would you like to expand on any of that, or are you?
Other than that, they're laying wreaths and all the veterans, local veterans that are buried there in the cemetery. There's over 200 that are, it's 11 o'clock. If anybody wants to.
11 o'clock, yeah.
Saturday.
Saturday the 16th. 16th.
This Saturday.
Yep. And I know there's been a discussion about that 1.1 million that was gonna be for public safety and city hall. And I talked to Ethan. And Ethan still is waiting to hear back from Cal OES. So it's just, they don't have a final word yet, but he's gonna get back to us on that. Gym use agreement. Just today, I think we have struck a deal. We just don't have the agreement in hand, so we're gonna meet tomorrow, Handel and myself and Hannah, and we're gonna work that out, but we struck a deal financially. If you have any questions on that, we can certainly talk about that, but that ends my report.
Okay, any questions, Todd?
I think for me, just on the facilities, thank you for doing that. I think for me, I think as we're hearing everything, I think just having some sort of city staff present or some in the agreements, I think I'm more concerned about the language of who's responsible for what is probably my most important thing when we're dealing with, or any of our buildings, with anyone that's using them. So I appreciate that that's moving forward.
And we're moving forward with that attendant position for the senior center as well.
Good.
I forgot to add, the chief is getting a lot of calls on the smell at the odor at the 151 Obispo. So I just indicated to him that, you know, they're part of the pollution control agency, so they're working with them, and I will reach out to them to get another meeting together, so he doesn't have to shut them down.
Yeah, they're on it. The APC is on it, so.
Yeah.
What are the proper steps for, our community members to take care? They just call the city, do they call the?
Honestly, I know a lot of people can call in the pollution control agency.
Call them, yeah.
Yeah.
It's easier to call them.
Yeah, but I mean, it's sort of a catch-22 for them, because now that they're part of it, any piece of equipment they purchase, they have to have the approval of that entity. So whereas without that entity, they probably could move quicker, but they have to get sort of the sign off on.
That's the way to go.
Yeah. Anyways, that's my report.
Thank you. I'm excited to see
Questions?
a lot of these initiatives and updates. You did mention the park and recreation. I read the minutes and I was just kind of curious. it looked like some people were kind of curious about the transition. And I was wondering if there's an SOP being created um,
For the
for Parks and Recreation Manager.
standard operating procedures, maybe you know, I haven't personally been working on it.
Because Parks and Rec, or at least coming into it, there wasn't really a lot. There wasn't anything to go off of, so I am working on that. I'm just trying to be very detailed so that anyone that comes in after me has a lot to go off of. If that's something that you guys want at a certain time or you would like to see, I can, try to prioritize that.
Good.
I think what would be the best, easiest transition, when this new person comes in, as we're getting all these grants, as we're moving forward with the park updates, Emily's working up. I think we want to make this an easy transition, so maybe having something in play already on that. That way, it's visible to everybody, there's some transparency.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it needs to be necessarily detailed, like every little thing, you know, that's incorporated, but at least some sort of flow. Like where are things at, right? So that someone could look at it and go, okay, these are the next puzzle pieces that need to go together so that there's no gap in terms of where you're at with different projects or your department and things like that. That would make sense to me, but makes sense to you.
In case, there's the next Tuesday, right, the meeting?
Yes.
When, Tuesday.
Is that, I know that I'm interested in going, I don't know if anybody else, I don't know, Gilbert, I don't know if you're interested in going. Yeah.
Oh, yes,
To the
yeah.
Parks and Rec.
So, I don't know if there's a third conflict person you want to.
This is the ninth.
I was gonna show the field, that's my thoughts.
Okay,
Yeah, that is an option and
Okay,
it's been
good.
advertised on, social media as well.
okay,
Yeah, that's good.
but that doesn't brush against, okay,
Tuesday, the 19th, correct?
Brown
Yes.
X,
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. I'm sorry, I don't know why that's on.
it's on.
It's because it's a publicly noticed meeting
Okay,
already,
cool.
so you're fine.
All right. Okay, any other questions?
Did you want me to go over any of these other reports for building, or did you get a chance to look at the numbers and also, Dwayne put together an engineer report, sort of just highlighting a lot of the projects.
There's a lot going on.
There's- Yeah, I mean, it might take a good hour. I reckon.
You could read it, so.
Yeah.
Any questions of, Wayne or anybody?
No, I just, you know, I wanted to say it a little earlier, and this is probably the perfect. I do want to thank staff for their reports, because they are very detailed. They provide all the supporting material in them, and so I know sometimes we approve things on the consent, and it seems like we're rushing through them. But I just wanted to take a minute to thank, because the staff does, you can tell the effort that's been put into them and to really spell things out so that we're not having to ask a ton of questions or dig any more deeper than what's been presented to everyone. So I appreciate that very much.
You know, that's a good point, because if you look at, say, item under consent calendar, under E, adopt resolution approving the MOU of, with Service Employees Union. That's critical, but there's a lot of detail to that we've
Yeah.
discussed and gone through, so.
Hmm.
And that information is there for anybody to read. So.
Mhm.
Any other questions of that? If not, Director of Public Safety, Chief Gash?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I have my report and I have some updates. As you can see from the report that was submitted, and I'll go through as quickly as possible. As far as police officers, we did release one, but we have two that hopefully should be on board before the end of the month. So we did a quick turnaround on that. In the fire department, we still have one vacant engineer position that we'll be working on soon. As far as activity, the impact fee study, we pushed it back to next month. I'll be working with the city attorney's office here to make sure that we develop an ordinance that we can attach to that. So that is, it's written, it's done. We just gotta follow through on making sure that we have the proper ordinance. Public safety's been working with the city grant writer an awful lot. This has been almost like Christmas lately. This is the, you can see the 5 different grants that she talked about. And we'll be meeting more to discuss, next week on which ones we're gonna go. And you can see there's a very lot of short, deadlines, pretty much a lot in January. But it's been, very productive so far. As stated before, the Santa Barbara Office of Emergency Management, we have $15,500 worth of supplies that'll be coming for emergency preparedness. Us and Kuyama were the two sites, and we had discussed that earlier. That's gonna be great to have those supplies on site. Right now, we're looking into purchasing a sea train to be able to store the emergency preparedness supplies. Also, the 1805 group, I was with them last week, and I'll be with them next week. But we also got another grant for $30,000 for 3 SBCA's, self-breathing apparatuses for the fire department. The equipment we had been outdated for like years, and we were pretty much scuttling different pieces to keep what we had going on. So each one of these are $10,000 a piece. And so we have that grant, and that money will be coming. And we also talked about the grant monies that we have for the generator that also will be coming from 1805. So that's been a pretty productive year for at least from 1805. The information that just kind of came in, and I'm trying to stay on top of things, so I'll just kind of go down my list real quick, is all our cameras are up and running in both parks. We do not need to put a sign out. That was a question, because it is a public facility. It's a public, so there is no expectation of privacy in the park. Just we don't put it in bathrooms. So we have it at Leroy, and we also have at O'Connell. And I have it on my phone. We have it on our desktop computer, so officers can get real time of what's going on in both those locations. Also talked with Cal OES just a couple hours before coming here. The new grants application came out, and we have to have our stuff in by January 5th. So I'll be working with Cal OES so that we can do that. But their main the main reason that they called was to let me know that through FEMA, we have another grant for $39,740. So we have another generator coming. So we're looking at either one of the other facilities, city facilities. Yeah, I know where you'd like to have it at, but we have one here for this building. We'll discuss that later, since that's a public safety generator. So now we're gonna have two generators. We always share two generators that'll be coming to the city soon, which is really good. With the direction from the mayor and city council, CHP has been working on Highway 1, Mr. Alvarez. We talked about that. It was kind of nice, because I never even saw the motorcycle guy out there until he started pulling people over, and thank goodness I was following the speed limit. So they were very gracious. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I reached out to the people that you talked about, and they were right on it. So that was very helpful. It wasn't too helpful the night of the parade when we had the accident on I think 166. We had 2 over there. That was pretty ugly, but you know, hopefully we're working on that piece of freeway, which is really dark and dangerous at night. Okay. We have Cal OES, they'll be here next week. We'll be talking about supplies that will be coming. We're gonna be trying to put together out to talk with Todd and Janice, and hopefully anybody else as far as our buildings. We wanna start putting together a construction meeting for the PD wing. We're gonna have a new female officer. So we're about due for locker room space and bathrooms and so forth. This council granted us $10,000 about 2 years ago, which we've never used. And that is very sorely needed. So hopefully we will tag into the 1.1, which says public safety
And city,
and
City hall.
yes, but it says public safety first.
but it's really a whole building
Yeah.
with two,
Well, nice to have competing interests, but we're all on the same team.
yeah, it's in the same building.
We just met first, but yes.
It's in the same building.
It's in the same building. So we want to have a meeting so that everyone will be online of what's going on, what's happening, and we just really get some kind of input. Also, I passed out for staff and city council is you could see where the new laws came into effect, but the ones that we talk about is now DACA individuals will be able to become police officers. LA is one of the first that are doing that, the Los Angeles Police Department. So that just opens up recruiting. There's people complaining about that. Standards are not lowered. Nothing has changed. Everyone has to be the same thing. We've got to go through the same academies. It's just now we expanded the pool. We'll have a meeting next Tuesday, I believe it is. Hopefully I can make it now. I just had another text or something come out. The Central Park security meeting. I know I'm supposed to be talking about Central Park, but we've kind of reached out. We've looked at the plans as far as for cameras and lighting and so forth. We want to make sure that we're going to be on the ground floor so that security, at least our input concerning security should at least be brought up and talked about before we start really getting into things that, so we want to make sure that like we're at the table and we're not getting caught later on dealing with crime or vandalism there at the park. Also gave a handout to council and staff here about the new laws that are taking place in 2024. And just real quick, I highlighted some things to be, I think, are important. You go on page 2, AB 436. Cruising will no longer be illegal. I know we got our car clubs here, so they should be pretty happy seeing something like that. But we're not gonna block our streets, but as you can see that, I also highlighted on page 4, under entertainment, SB 76, allows cities to create temporary entertainment zones that allow existing restaurants and bars to sell alcohol if they are located within the boundaries of a city permitted street festival. So now not every building has to get one. If there is a street festival, the adjoining businesses can join in. But then 2, they can still have to get a permit. So we can do checks and make sure everything is done properly, but this is hopefully to increase business. One of the other things that we're gonna be really paying attention to, if you look on page 5 real quick about healthcare, SB 43, it's gonna expand the definition of, and I know Mr. Alvarez, he worked in this field, about the involuntary mental health holds. Before someone cannot take care of themselves, feed themselves or so forth, you could put a mental health hold. This is gonna be interesting. The new law now is gonna include people who suffer from drugs or alcohol addiction and are unable to provide for their personal safety. That's going to be something that we wanna make sure that is done proper, done correct. I spoke with Santa Barbara Police Chief last week. They're doing a program. We're the only county in the state that has a outside agency that law enforcement have to get to have a commitment for a person for 72 hours. Other places, law enforcement can, officers in the field can take somebody in for a 72-hour commitment. Santa Barbara is working with the companies right now so that the officer in the field will have more authority to make those commitments themselves. Instead of us waiting 2 hours for someone to come to do that, if we have those issues, we could take care of it a lot faster. We want to make sure that it's done right, legal, and definitely proper. And the last one, if you look on page 6, which is going to be a very interesting one on immigration, SB 831, authorize the governor to enter negotiations with the U.S. Attorney's Office to develop a program that would grant immigration parole to undocumented agricultural workers. The program would grant undocumented workers work visas and protect them from deportation, but it does not provide a pathway to legal residence. So, I'm sure some of these are gonna be challenged, or they're gonna be interesting. But it's something that I wanna make sure that, our council and staff are aware of, what some of those new laws are and that we're prepared to understand and either enforce or how we're gonna act on that. So with that, that's my report. Any questions?
I just had a comment on SB 831. It seems like, using the word parole is kind of a negative right off the top, so, we'll see how that runs. Any questions from Chief? Or, Chief?
I have a question.
Who does?
About the
Okay,
generator.
all right.
Are we gonna have electrical updates that we need to do with this generator like we do with the one we're working on?
It depends on where. The one that we're getting right now is a large type generator. We're putting $80,000 so that way it could take care of this whole building.
Yeah.
This other generator, we only got 39,000 out of a 41,000 request, so that's gonna be a lot smaller. So, it'll be easier to put it in another building to kind of make that go, but it depends on where it's gonna go. Here, we have the gas line, that makes that work a whole lot better. I don't know what we have in the other buildings, we'll have to sit down and talk as a group. And I'm just, joshing with Todd. The group and the city council will decide where that generator goes. I know I got my issues, but I'm not that bad.
I just want to
Millions,
make sure that we keep that in mind. I don't
Yeah.
know when we're gonna get that, but if it's gonna go into the next budget, then we just probably should work on.
No, because, it's one thing to have the generator, but then two, there's always that cost of the installation and everything else, and we might have to come back to council on that to see where we think the city is the best place to place something like that.
Chief, you mentioned gas. Is that a gas powered generator or diesel powered generator?
Gas,
It's gas.
natural gas.
Natural gas.
It'll be natural
Okay,
gas.
good, all right.
Yeah, it's piped in, and if they put on this side, we'll have to do some runs.
Yeah,
From the
that's not-
line.
That runs anywhere.
And it's, well, in this way, it's the front, but on that side, it's like longer run. It's a whole different game over there. But, and it's also next to the school, so the gas is better than if you use diesel in terms of the carbon foot, what they breathe.
Yeah,
That one we're putting out there.
Yeah. So there's talk also about LP tanks, but that's,
No, it's gotta-
that's out in the country.
have one request to speak, Mr. Alvarez?
God knows I'm familiar with the homeless situation. I've been working at it for quite a while. In fact, I've been involved with some altercations in this town. One of the things that really woke me up is when I called on this one guy that was doing karate and Bruce Lee on one of the postal receptacles. I called the police officer, came in automatically. I told him not to be alone, get another person. This guy was crazy. So protocols then called the county. They have a person that they're talking to the officer, and then he makes the assessment, not being there, if we're gonna put him in the 72-hour. It used to be the puff unit at one time, all right? They changed it. So now we had to let him go. No, we didn't, because what happens there, and this is for the safety of the city and city council. If an officer at that time allowed that person not to be taken care of or left him in town, whatever occurred would be on the city, not the county, the city. Luckily, we found a way of getting that person to Santa Maria. And let them handle it in their venue. But it didn't solve the problem. County of Santa Barbara has over 15 million dealing with the homeless situation. I heard that while I was there listening to Mr. Navarro, the director, discussing the situation. Now, we don't have access to get together with the monies they have so we can deal with the $70. Even though they got this new system in place, it doesn't solve the city's problem. We have one guy walking around screaming at people every day. He's wacko. What can we do? I'm afraid sooner or later the guy's gonna hurt somebody. All right, then it falls back on us, because we didn't do anything. The county washed their hands up, so that's just one area that we have to look into. The concern I have is the EPA, are they gonna be handling the access marijuana odor, dealing with what's happening in Treasure Park? Because that's basically should be the EPA handling that, along with the county. It's a health issue.
Yeah. The local regional.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
On
working.
that.
Yeah, they're on that.
Because that's, they're gonna have to do, and another thing is, the city makes $55 a ticket when we give a ticket to a person. Stake and Lion Share is about $55 that we get. I think, if we average 10, it's over 550. I'm not suggesting we're gonna be a ticket, but the problems we have here, go downtown. Every day they're U-turning. I've seen 7 U-turns today in Guadalupe, downtown. Because it's not our fault, we don't have enough officers. Luckily, we have the CHU. I'd like to have them on a regular basis if possible for public safety reasons. Okay? So, my time's up anyway. That's what I wanted to bring up to the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from Chief? Chief?
I just have one,
Okay.
follow up to the last meeting when we were talking about, getting the supplies. It sounds like you're thinking a sea train for storage. I didn't hear, are we any closer to doing a meeting with the volunteer group? I know we kind of briefly touched on that last time where you had some emergency preparedness, volunteers that were willing to come and work with the city that may be able to help with sort of inventorying this, and any update on maybe getting that group together in the new year? Or anything on, no.
Well, I just haven't been available.
Right.
That's been the downfall. All the paperwork is done. They're biting at the bit. They want to get going, but, I just gotta get myself healthy enough to kind of get back and to, get things going. But it's there.
I know that getting this amount of material, the value of it, inventory, and it's a big undertaking, and we don't wanna have a situation where we can't find something or, we figure out it's expired when there's processes in place that we can do that pretty easily and they're willing to volunteer. I just wanna make sure you have the support you need, and if they're willing to help, then that might be a good area to start that process. That's all.
Thank you.
I did speak to the community changers. I think it was 2 of them that inquired and wanted to learn more information on how one would apply for that community cert group that you were starting. And so I would like to mention that. And then I know that, you mentioned camera markings. Can you help me understand this policy on, the camera markings? Maybe I'm understanding it wrong from that. I know that I gave you the camera. You referenced that, you answered my question to the camera.
Oh, the
marking.
cameras, yes.
Yeah, can you help me understand, these camera markings? Maybe I'm understanding it incorrectly, because you mentioned that the cameras don't need to be with signs, correct?
In a public place like a park.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know I referenced that data code. Can you help me understand what the difference is? Because this one says all public areas monitored for public safety.
Okay, I will get a chance to kind of read that, and I'll make sure that I can do an email back to you on staff or city council, whatever way you want it, either email back or I can do it at another council meeting after I researched it.
Awesome. If this could be sent out to every council member, just so everyone's aware of the public safety video surveillance system.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I think if you just BCCS, that keeps us in the loop without having any sort of entanglements of us responding while still sharing that information in a timely manner.
Okay.
Okay, we good? All right, next item 9, HR Human Resource Manager report, information only.
Okay, let me sort of run through this, some of it has been discussed already. This is a report from the time I returned as interim HR manager through November, and then in January, the full month of December. So So on the recruitment side is kind of a little busy. We had 5 candidates that were interviewed for the police officer positions, and Chief mentioned that 2 have gone through the process all the way through, and 1 finished his medical screening today, psych evaluation last week. The second candidate will do her medical screening on Thursday and psych evaluation on Friday. And then Chief will get the psych evaluation results, I'll get the medical screening results. And assuming all is well, we will have candidates by the end of the year for sure, which is great. We also had operator training candidates, 3 of them, and that's for the wastewater treatment plant. It's a 12-month program. That program just started last year. We had 1 person and was very successful because when he left, and I happened to be in from last year when he came on board, it was very successful because when he left here, he was able to get a wastewater operator 2 position at, I don't know where, in the Central Coast somewhere. He skipped right over operator 1, he went right to 2, so that's excellent. Very good program. Probably, I finished reference checking. I will talk to the candidates on Thursday. I'll make a conditional offer. They'll go through live screen and medical screening. And hopefully all is well, and we'll have them on board. They're really needed out of the plant because we just have a supervisor and an operator too. Recreation, I phone screened 2 candidates that I previously gone through panel interviews before my time. They were both regretted, and we made an offer, a conditional offer to a candidate, and due to personal circumstances, was not able to accept the position. So we're screening, excuse me, I will be reposting the position tomorrow. I had to wait until we had the staff report to give COLAs to unrepresented employees. So that raises the salary range. So I wanted to wait until the range was moved. So that'll be on the website and posted tomorrow. HR, we interviewed 2 candidates in November, and the decision is pending on that. On benefits, there was a bit of a snafu. There was an open enrollment, which happens every year for health insurance through CalPERS, and that was before my time. I came in right at the tail end. There were a couple of people who made changes. And then after the open enrollment period had closed for employers as well as for CalPERS, we noticed that there were some incorrect premiums that were given out to a certain grouping of employees. We were able to get an exception through CalPERS on that, which we dodged a bullet. I was concerned about one particular employee who made a decision on a premium rate that actually was about double in reality. And that person was able to, with the exception, enroll in a much lower premium rated plan, but a very good plan. Labor relations, I came in on the tail end of the POA, and we were able to take care of the salary adjustments that were retro to 8/19 this year. That hit the 12-1 pay period. Their health premiums were adjusted as well. On SEIU, thank you for approving the SEIU MOU. Now we have to go and take care of the 17 retro salary adjustments for them. And I'll redo the health premiums because now the premiums have changed with the city's contribution changing. Workers' comp?
You can sign.
It's okay.
Back to the minutes. On workers' comp, ironically, when I was interim last year, I was dealing with these 2 long-term claims. One is pretty close to being concluded, and it's been unfortunately long and drawn out. The individual went through what's referred to as a Q&E, and they're now in the stages of dealing with the employee's attorney and coming up with a settlement. And it's not unusual for someone with a long-term workers' comp claim to have an attorney. So that's, people go, ooh, he has an attorney, not a big deal. And the evaluation is over. I'm in touch with the carrier. I was in touch with the carrier today, and the settlement process will go back and forth. It's a dollar figure. that they're dealing with, and the employee will have the option of taking a settlement and leaving future medical open, future medical being for the injury or disability as to why they're out on workers' comp. If something comes up later on after the settlement, it's paid by workers' comp. Some employees choose not to have that, leave it open, and then the workers' comp carrier determines a dollar value on that, and that becomes a lump sum to them. Okay, miscellaneous. I redid the recreation services manager. I revised that, and again, that's going to be posted tomorrow. Developing the senior center attendant coordinator position, as Todd mentioned, and continuing updating all the HR files to ensure correct chronology of salary changes and employment history. It's very important to have those up to date. That's it.
That's a lot.
I think, yeah, it
Take a
is.
deep breath.
Yes, let's stay in.
Back to minutes.
That's it.
Any
Switching
questions
gear.
of Ms. Villegas?
I just had one question.
Yeah.
It's very simple. The job description, you said developing the job description for the attendant coordinator position for the senior center. Is that a new job description or we're just updating a current job description?
No, that's a new position,
New totally.
completely new,
And,
and it is a city position. It will be a city position.
and with that position, is that, because we have the building technician or building attendant already, right? That's already on the books as a type of job description that
That's completely different.
it's completely
It is
different.
completely different.
Okay, and are we specifying that it will be at senior center or are we developing this so that they could be moved to different, I'm just thinking of flexibility
The
down the
initial
road.
intent was, as discussed with the mayor and Todd, the initial intent is to have somebody on site
Of course,
to
yeah.
open, close, to monitor, all those different kinds of things. There's the free meals that are served during lunchtime, and possibly have that individual help, those volunteers that come for that. Monitor in and out, open, close.
Right, and that I completely on board with. I'm just wondering, is that job position going to say senior center only or down the road could that person, let's say the needs change a couple years down the road and we need to move them to another location? Is there flexibility with that or?
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
What happens in the future is that there's additional funding for senior services.
Okay.
So if we, in this money, a good portion of this money, or all of it, is CDBG 2 and 3. So it's there until next year, which is the money that will go for the attendant and also the freezer. But that person is intended to build up the senior program.
Right,
Now you have exercises there, I think, 2, 3 days, 3 days a week. You have the meals are served at 11. And the seniors get there at 9.
mhm.
So there's activities that we want to continue to generate, almost all day long, so.
I definitely,
And it would stay there, that
Yeah.
person that would be a senior center.
okay. And I think I'm just concerned more from an HR standpoint of if we limit this new job description to just senior center as a location, let's say the senior center services move to a different building.
I'm
Do you
sure.
get what I'm saying? I
I'm
want to
sure.
build in flexibility to
No,
that location.
That,
That's
to
Because
me,
once you
that,
hire an employee and you say, okay, your job is this location, these things, and then let's say
person has to be tied to the senior services.
senior services,
Yeah.
okay. So not so much the location, but the services provided.
Yeah. I
Okay,
think so.
that's what I'm looking for then in the language, is just that specification, not just a location, in
Okay.
case that was. I just want flexibility for us and that employee, if we get, onboard them and everything and things change in terms of location that we're not stuck to. Any sort of, rigid language, that's all.
Todd, yes?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that after this report, we've had a discussion about the Public Works Director, position that we're gonna come forward with and look into that as well. And off HR, I forgot to mention that a school board member did call me and ask if just to read the temperature, would you like to in January have a joint city school meeting? She just asked me, so I thought I'd throw it out there, and she asked if I would ask you for some dates. So I just wanna, if you need time to think about it, that's fine.
We
but
need time.
I just wanted to bring it up.
Any questions of HR? Thank you, really.
Thank you so much, that was a lot.
All right,
Yeah.
item, public hearing, item 10, amendment to the accessory dwelling unit ADU ordinance, chapter 18.53. Mr. Larry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members, good evening. This is Another update to the accessory dwelling unit ordinance. It's our fourth one in the last 6 years. We just try to stay up with the state and, they just keep surprising us with new changes. So I'll just briefly go over the ones, and they were in your staff report, they were in the draft ordinance, so it shouldn't be too hard to follow. The state added a definition for the RENA numbers. They just wanted to make it clear that if you do have ADUs, that they can count towards the RENA count for the 6th cycle. You may recall we have to provide 431 available units, not that we develop, but that there is sufficient land and density to be able to develop those. We already met that through the general plan that was updated last year, so these ADUs will just be icing on the cake. And I found out the other day that we have actually approved 89 of these. Most of them have been constructed, and that started in 2019 when we started keeping our records. So we're having quite a few, and I think it's mainly because some of the original lots in town were like 6,000 square feet or larger, and the homes weren't that large, and so there is sufficient room in the rear yards to be able to add these, and a lot of people are starting to do it. So the only drawback is that we have no way of regulating the rent that they charge, and every unit that I've been involved in, they're charging just as much as a regular apartment unit and stuff, and so we really aren't getting anything that's really affordable. We don't have an inclusionary housing program with the city that would force people into certain ranges, but we're just hoping over time that these units would be considered in more of an affordable range than market rate. Second one that we're looking at requires the local agencies to approve an ADU when certain criteria are met. Basically, if it's going to be 850 square feet or less, and it meets the setbacks, then we need to be able to approve them. They went into this a little bit last year when they talked about not necessarily following the front yard setback requirement, which normally is 20 feet for a home on a single family lot. So if an ADU starts in the rear yard and it's kind of narrow and is built in a side yard, it could actually go and end up being closer to the street than the primary house itself. And we can't do anything about that. So unfortunately, that's another one of the new rules. Also, if there are any inconsistencies with the ordinance, we have what's called an administrative use permit, which allows us to waive those inconsistencies. So we're doing everything we can to follow the state regulations, which encourages the development of these ADUs. If we have an unpermitted ADU come in for processing, staff must now approve it if it was constructed prior to January 1st of 2018. And that's unless the building department deems the building substandard. Regulations now clarify that it's not necessary to use an existing bedroom when developing an attached ADU. So it's in the past, they wanted you to use a bedroom as the primary starting point for an attached unit. But with this now, it allows you to use pretty much any part of the house, usually on the back side or the two sides. But it just provides some more flexibility in being able to develop them. The state regulations clarified that the 225 square feet of open space, which we've required for attached and detached ADUs, to be reduced if necessary when creating an 800 square foot ADU. So there, we just talked about one that was 850 square feet. Now they're using the 800 number. So hopefully at some point they'll get all those numbers together. But bottom line is that we tried to make a yard space for each of these, especially when you're developing them in the rear yard. You have to have some area for the kids to play or whatever. And now the state is saying that 225 square feet can be reduced if someone is creating an 800 square foot unit and it doesn't leave enough room for the open space.
Larry, did it specify? I didn't see what it could be reduced to, or is it just?
It could go to 0. I mean, they have to have a 4-foot setback in the rear and the side, and you have to have 5 feet separation between the primary home and the ADU. So whatever those little strips add up to, that would be their open space.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jeepers.
The regulations require a rear and side yard setback of at least 4 feet. But we inserted, the 5 foot for the other structures on the property because that brings it into consistency with our local building code. Detached ADUs are not permitted to have a detached garage if there's sufficient room on the property. So that kind of goes the opposite direction that the state was doing, where they said, like, if you convert a garage, you no longer have to have parking for the primary, and then you don't need parking for the person who's gonna be living in that garage. So at least this is going the other direction, and if they've got sufficient room, we can end up having a garage built in there.
Then can the detached garage for the ADU be an ADU?
You're only allowed one ADU,
I'm just,
so I'm
It's just-
sorry, no. Now they could, no, let's take this a step further, the SB 9, where you can split your property. So let's say they split the property and then that ADU becomes its own unit in the back, then yes, their garage could become an ADU with the ADU turning into an SFB.
you might be able to put a ping pong table outside.
It's crazy, but that's the state. No CCNRs affecting a single family lot can unreasonably restrict construction or use of an ADU. So that had been, one of the things that was a holdout for a number of years, that if you had CCNRs or a homeowners association or something, you could prevent ADUs, from coming in, and now they've done away with that with this new regulation. And then, yeah, the final one. An agency must delay enforcement against a qualified substandard ADU for 5 years to allow the owner to correct the violation if there are no health and safety issues. So that's pretty much it. Not as significant as we've had in the past, but still, they keep us on our toes. So we'll be taking this back, first meeting in January for second reading. Takes 30 days to go into effect, and then we'll send it to the state for their review, and hopefully we'll get their blessing on it and be off and running. So,
Okay, we'll open it up to public hearing at 6:57. And it's open to public hearing. Is there anyone in the public that wants to speak in? Is your dog here? No?
the bus hasn't gotten here yet, so sorry.
All right. Seeing, no one here to comment on the public hearing, we're going to close it at 6:58. Bring it back to the council. I heard somewhere where you can, actually sell ADUs.
You can sell an ADU if you're a nonprofit corporation.
Okay.
Like people self-help,
Right.
something like that, you can sell it separate from the house.
Now, I understand that, even, Escalante Fort Meadows has a area that you can actually, they're required to have space for an ADU.
Say that where?
Escalante Court, because I.
Escalante can have 2, detached ADUs.
Right.
And then they can also have up to 25% of the total number of units, so that would be 20,
Wow.
because they've got 80.
Right.
That could go into areas, like laundry rooms,
Wow.
shop buildings, things like that.
Office space if they're
That are
putting office space.
non-habitable, or not living space at the time that they were converted. Yeah.
Okay.
I
Good.
just want to thank you. I know these laws are tricky, and I feel like we're constantly trying to keep up. I do want to just share that ADUs for Guadalupe, I think, while yes, they're helping our housing, I share your same concern, the fact that they're being rented so high. The fact that our infrastructure really wasn't built to have, like the homes in Treasure Park really weren't meant to have 2 and sometimes 3 different family units or housing dwellings together on one lot. I do think in the new year, we're going to have to think about that. How is that gonna impact us long term? We've got crowding, streets are very crowded. So I appreciate what you said. And I just want to share that while again, people are grateful to have housing options, I do think it does come with withdraw that.
And we have no control.
And we have no control, and so it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
So that's why I prefaced the beginning with,
Yeah.
I really do appreciate that you're doing this dance with the state, and you do such a great job in your reports of sharing and explaining where the differences are.
Thank you.
And I'm sure it's a difficult place to be in.
Yeah.
When we're dealing with that. So thank you for your.
For many years, local agencies could just say no. And you
Right.
didn't have to have an ADU program at all. And it was very simple. You just had you had to have an ordinance, not an ordinance, but like a resolution that let the state know that you weren't gonna be doing it. And that worked for years until, just before I retired, I think it
The
happened.
first time?
Yeah, first time.
All
Well, thank
right,
you again, I appreciate
Sure.
that. So
now our task before us to approve a notice of exemption of secret ordinance number 2023-513 and introduced by title only and waive the first reading of ordinance 2023-513, amending chapter 18.53 of the municipal code. Is there a motion to that effect?
Almost to that effect.
And second.
All those, is there any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All ayes. And then we'll continue this ordinance, for January 19th.
Thank you.
Right, thank
Thank
you,
you.
and Merry Christmas to
Thank
all of
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you next year.
Can I go?
Yeah.
I can hear.
Okay, all right, future agenda items. I would like to put probably in March or February, increases for budget increases for council and for elected officials. Take us probably a year to get it through.
I'm sorry, what month?
February.
February, okay.
Yeah, you can put, school board, joint meeting on schedule.
Okay.
Okay, we're at 11 future agenda items,
Gotcha.
and we added, the second for council and elected officials for February.
Here.
Okay, and then, school board potential as an unscheduled
Okay.
joint meeting with the school board.
Does it have to be a formal meeting? Can you just keep
Yeah,
it-
when you have-
Should we keep it maybe less of us, like 2 representatives with them? Would that make it easier?
Well, it depends on the topic.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I do think a meeting would be nice, and there's so much overlap, but I just also know how hard it is to get.
No, we've done it before.
Oh.
We've actually met out
Yeah,
let them schedule it, we can go over there.
Okay.
yeah, each department head gave updates and you guys, or do you want to even do that?
What's that?
Each department head gave an update, at least the one I went to, but
You mean for the school board?
yeah. Remember you
It
did.
depends on
Yeah.
you received a call
Yeah,
from
that's,
someone that wanted to have a meeting.
they kind of wanted to set that, that's kind of, they liked the way that we did it the last time.
Okay.
That was one person though, that was,
Okay, well, we'll see.
We'll see how that goes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, item 12, announcements, council activity reports. Yes, go ahead.
This weekend, I just attended with my family, the Santa with my Aunt Mary Varian. Then the parade, I had such a jolly time the next day, I couldn't even feel my head on my face, I think I smiled so much. But I do want to mention that, December 15th, which is this Friday, Route 1 Mobile Market will be at Leroy Park from 5:30 to 8. If you have EBT, it will be 50% off, and hopefully they'll be stationed at the same area
Okay.
as last time.
Going off on that really quick, we have a movie night at Leeward Park that same night, so.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Goes well.
Nice.
Love that.
What movie?
Elf. By vote, I'm gonna pick.
I was just saying that was vote.
Yeah.
I saw you posted.
Yes.
Just SBCAG meetings Thursday. It's actually gonna be at the City Hall in Santa Maria. They're doing some construction there at the county building. Let's see, we talked about the event, the wreaths with the Girl Scouts.
Yes.
That's 11 o'clock on Saturday, so. Is there a motion to adjourn to closed session?
I motion to adjourn to closed session.
Is there a second? I'll second that. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All right.